Om Jnanatamandasya Gnanjana Shalakaya Chakshu Alatamyena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, and my spiritual master has kindly opened my eyes with a shining torchlight of transcendental knowledge. I therefore offer my respectful obeisances under his lotus feet. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So we're continuing our reading of Bhagavad Gita, chapter 8, entitled Attaining the Supreme.
Yes.
So this chapter is showing us the process, how we can achieve the supreme destination, the supreme perfection of life, which is to go back home, back to Godhead, to the spiritual world known as Vaikuntha. Vai means without, and Kuntha means anxieties. So in New Zealand, often the Kiwis have a saying, no worries, mate. But it's not real, because actually they have lots of worries. They're just pretending that they don't. But Vaikuntha is the place which is really no worries, mate. There's no anxieties there, no worries. So
once we get to the Vaikuntha, then there's no way back, is it? No way back to the...
Well, that's what these last verses have been telling us. Once you go there, you don't return. And Krishna says that verse after verse, that once you go to the spiritual destination, there's no returning to the material world. So that's the news. But this is only obviously for people that want to go to the spiritual world, because most people are attached to the material world. Like Prabhupada tells a story about some Russian astronaut. So he was up in the spaceship and he was looking back in the window back to where is my Moscow. You know, so he's way up in space, but he's still thinking about Moscow. You know, he's attached to his home. You know, so the majority of people, if you said to them, do you want to come to the spiritual world? Most of them would say, no, I want to stay where I am. You know, that's our disease. That's Maya. That's the illusion that we're so attached to the material world. But like I've been saying, I mean, the main reason why we don't want to go to the spiritual world is because we don't have any information about the spiritual world, most people. We don't know how good it is. If we realized a little bit of how good it is, the spiritual world, then we might slacken our grip on this, you know, temporary, miserable material world, which was explained earlier on, wasn't it? Was that the 15th verse? We can look at that. The 15th, it was either, I think the 15th verse, yeah. Yeah.
After attaining me, the great soul who are yogis in devotion never return to the temporary world, which is full of miseries, because they have attained the highest perfection.
So these are the two main faults of the material world, is that it's full of miseries, and the main miseries are birth, old age, disease, and death. And they're all inescapable. That's the main ones. And there's other ones also, caused by natural disasters, and other living entities give us misery too. You know, the dog bites and the mosquitoes bite, and sometimes the family members bite. And then our own body is giving us misery. Our own body is giving us misery, and the mind also. And that's actually more common these days, even than the physical misery, is the mental misery like that. So much stress, anxiety, like we've been talking about. And the other thing, even if you did think that you were happy in this world, but it's temporary. That's the other main drawback, apart from its being full of miseries, is that it's temporary. So even if you did manage to find a comfortable situation, what you thought was, you can't stay there. You can't stay there. This is like compared to a transit lounge in an airport. You know, it's just a temporary stopover for a very short time, you know. So if we realize, on one side, if we realize that, get the real picture of the material world, that it's not such a nice place to be. And also, when we get the real picture of the spiritual world, that it's full of so many beautiful varieties that are eternal, and they just get better and better, the relationships there, and there's none of these kind of miseries there. Once we hear about that, Krishna and his wonderful relationships with his devotees, they're eternally having ecstatic, loving relationships, then we can, the idea is, become detached from the material world, let go of our grip on the material world, and be prepared to go back to Godhead. So where we're at now, we've just been hearing about Krishna's explaining that there's auspicious times, that means a good time to leave your body, which is giving you more chances of being elevated towards getting liberated if you leave your body at certain times. And that was mentioned there in text 24 was last week, was 24, today is 25. But 24 was saying that these are the good times to die, basically. During the influence of the fiery god. So what does that mean? So if you die in front of fire, if there's a fire in front of you or somewhere around you when you die, then the fire god, whose name is Agni Dev, then Agni, the demigod Agni, will help the soul to get a better birth, maybe even towards getting liberated, helping. And also in the light, so that means if you died in the daytime, that's auspicious. So to die with a fire next to you is auspicious. To die in the daytime is auspicious. Add on a auspicious moment of the day. So even sometimes in the day are more auspicious than others. Sometimes in the day. So if you left at an auspicious moment of the day, during the fortnight of the waxing moon. So in a month, you've got two weeks where the moon is increasing, which is waxing, and 2 weeks where it's waning, decreasing. So those 2 weeks where it's increasing, waxing, is auspicious, a good time to die. And then, or during the 6 months when the sun travels in the north. So 6 months of the year, the sun goes on a northern journey, northern hemisphere, and 6 months it goes in the southern hemisphere. So now it's in the north. So now's a good time to go. Now it's a good time to go. Not encouraging anyone to go, but it's a good time to go. Like that. So these are auspicious times that Krishna's mentioning. And what it also mentioned is that this is more relevant for non-devotees, who are trying to progress by their own efforts, by their own endeavor. But for a devotee of Krishna, we leave everything up to Krishna. So we don't have any anxiety about these things. Is it a good time, a bad time? Because we're completely depending on Krishna. We've surrendered our lives to Krishna. It's completely up to him. Whether Krishna kills us or makes us live or die or whatever like that, makes us sick or whatever, healthy or whatever. So that's completely up to Krishna. We've got no worries about that. But these are for those that are not fully Krishna conscious. Then this is of concern for them. They want to leave at the right time and avoid the wrong times and so forth. So in today's verse, it talks about inauspicious times, sort of bad times to die, which indicate that you'll be coming back again, which indicate that the soul will be taking another birth, will be reincarnating again. Of course, I would say that even if a devotee died at an inauspicious time, not necessarily is going to be coming back, because Krishna can make some other arrangement for the devotee. But if the person's a non-devotee, then that would not be a good sign if they passed away at an inauspicious time. So for a devotee, nothing is inauspicious. Everything is auspicious for someone that's serving Krishna. Everything's auspicious. There's nothing inauspicious. Like sometimes you might hear, oh, such and such devotee died in a car accident. That was really bad, inauspicious. No, or such a devotee died in his sleep, which is at night, which is not really good, right? You know,
Unless you're sleeping in the day. Unless you're sleeping in the day.
Sleeping in the daytime, yeah. But it's not generally not good to die in your sleep. But materialistic people, they love that idea. Oh, how peaceful it would be to die in your sleep, no suffering. But actually it's not good because you're in ignorance, right? You're in the mode of ignorance. So there's no consciousness of Krishna, of God. So it's actually better to die while you're awake like that and conscious like that. So these are, you know, completely different ways of looking at things. And like some people say, oh, how bad it was, like during the Twin Towers, right? That, you know, people must have been suffering so much and the plane crashed in the towers and everything like that. And but yeah, that's one way of looking at it. But another way, that how many of those people would have been praying before they died? You know, God save me, God help me. And is that inauspicious or that's auspicious? That just before they died, they're praying, God, God, save me, help me. And then the building collapsed on their head. You know, 1 million tons of concrete collapsed on their head after that. Is that good or bad?
Good.
That's good. That's good. And being all peaceful in your bed, or, you know, being drugged up like in the hospital, being completely drugged up, not knowing whether you're Arthur or Martha. And we think that's good. But is that good? No, it's terrible. Like one thing Prabhupada said, and even I know one other very advanced devotee, his name was Mahavishnu Goswami, he told his disciples, never take me to the hospital. Never take me to the hospital. It's going to be hard to remember Krishna because they drug you all up and, you know, on painkillers and everything. You're not conscious like that. And how are you going to think about Krishna? And the whole atmosphere is not conducive to you remembering Krishna. Just bright lights and white walls and everything, and, you know, smelling like a hospital smells and everything, and all these people that don't really care about you around you that are just making money. You know, they make money keeping you on the drugs, and they make money from you dying. You know, either way they make money out of you. So it's not very, you know, conducive for your, you know, having a good consciousness and getting a better destination, attaining the supreme, as we're reading here. So yeah, there's different ways of looking at things. So but here, we're reading these scriptures is giving us a different way to look at death. And of course, a lot of people, no, I don't want to talk about death. Don't talk to me about death. You know, most people would not be talking about that. Some people comment that, well, you Hare Krishnas, you talk so much about death and everything, you know, you're just very pessimistic, negative people. No, but actually we have a completely different look at it. Death is not really a bad thing, you know, because we're eternal. It's actually, death is an opportunity to exit this reincarnation cycle and go back to the spiritual world.
It's like throwing the fish back in the water.
Yeah, getting back in our natural environment. This is unnatural. We're like all on the land. We're like fish all on the land, flapping around, suffering. You know, so it's getting back in our natural environment again, like that. And it's important, very important to understand these things, because as is mentioned in this chapter, the time of death is the most crucial part in our whole life, because your consciousness at the time of death is one of the main factors that contributes to where you're going to go. Whether you're going to come back, or whether you're going to go up or go down, or whether you're out of here or whatever, that consciousness. So understanding it, everything about death is actually a very important part of spiritual life. And of course, you know, deep down we don't want to die. Why is that? Why do you think, you know, psychologically, that why is that inbuilt in every single one of us, that we're trying to avoid death? Why don't we like that concept of death, which is very real? And, you know, it said 2 things you can't escape, right? Death and taxes.
because of the unknown, because we don't know what no one really knows what lies out, once you pass away. We have, nobody is 100% sure.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's like unknown. So that unknownness creates that fear, that anxiety in us, of the unknown. The future is unknown. Yeah, so that's a good point. But however, that's a mistake to think nobody knows, because the Vedas knows, absolutely scientifically guaranteed knows, and anyone that knows the Vedas knows. So the Vedas knows everything about death, what happens. And anyone that has full knowledge of the Vedas, like the spiritual master, the pure devotee, they also know. So if you either hear from the Vedas or hear from the spiritual master, then you can find out definite scientific knowledge all about death, So there won't be any more of this unknown. And that's like I'm saying, we're not afraid of death because we know what it is.
But
and
we don't know, nobody, I mean, yeah, we know what the Vedas say, but like, for instance, speaking from just myself, I'm never convinced that I'm doing it, properly enough, or properly and really, where do I go after that? I don't know. Gail's got something to say.
Okay, Gail. Yeah.
I think another problem with us humans is our attachments. So death means that you have to let go of your attachments. And having watched people, I haven't been at an actual death, but I've watched them leading up to a death. And that's, I don't want to leave you all, to their children and grandchildren and or partner. So I think attachments might be a problem.
Yeah, we're attached to the body, but also everything related to the body. The family that are related to the body, the house is related to the body, the animals, the pets, so forth. The country is related to the body. We're attached to so many things. But like we were asking about, why is it we just can't relate to this idea of death? And Jayanti mentioned that from a distance. That is because we're eternal. It's because we're eternal. So that's why it's like a foreign concept. It's like incompatible in our brain, incompatible for us to conceive of, well, it's all going to end. Because by our nature is that we don't end. We have no end. We're Sanatan, which means we're eternal. So for us as an eternal living being to conceive of that we're going to come to an end, it's like it doesn't register. We can't accept that. We don't want to accept that. We don't want to look at that. We don't want to look at that because it's completely foreign for us to come to an end, and which is true, that we don't come to an end. So...
And that's the truth of the life, and we don't want to look at the truth. That's the truth. Everybody knows it's a truth of the life is a death. There's only one thing is certain, death.
Yeah, but the people don't have the full truth. That's the problem. That we're educated that it all comes to an end. When the body comes to an end, it all comes out like an end. So we're educated wrongly. So we're actually not given the truth. I mean, yes, the body does end, but we don't end. We don't end. And let's look at that just to make sure we understand that point. Second chapter, text 20. Second chapter, text 20. And this is the real education. This is what we're not taught at school, which should be taught from 5 years old.
There is neither birth nor death at any time. He has not come into being, does not come into being, then and will not be into being. He is unborn, eternal, ever existing, and primeval. He is not slain when the body is slain.
So there you have it. He is not slain when the body is slain.
Doesn't burn when the body burns.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's another verse that says the soul cannot be cut by any weapons, cannot be burned by fire, withered by wind, drowned in the water. I mean, it's completely invincible. We are more than Superman, you know, in terms of our spiritual nature. You know, it's like Superman. You can't kill Superman.
Because you know
like
why?
That.
Why is not been drowned or killed or like cut or anything? Why? You know why?
Why?
Because it's a part and parcel of Krishna. He can't do that.
Yeah.
It's
So
part and parcel of. You cannot cut the part of Krishna. No way. You cannot drown part of Krishna. You cannot burn part of Krishna. You cannot cut part of Krishna.
So this is the real education that everyone should have. You know, unfortunately, modern society doesn't give that, and therefore people are so much fear, anxiety, so many problems. We don't deal with death properly, like that. Don't have the right consciousness like that. So Prabhupada wanted to give us the full story. You know, then we can have a much better opportunity. Okay, so let's read the verse for today, 25. Can you take the power out of the So 8th chapter, text 25.
The mystic who passes away from this world.
We'll just read the Sanskrit first. We'll just
first.
Dumo Ratris Tata Krishna.
Dumo Ratris Tata Krishna.
Sanmasa Dakshinayanam.
Sanmasa Dakshinayanam.
Tatra Chandra Masam Jyotir.
Tatra Chandra Masam Jyotir.
Yogi Prapya Nivartate.
Yogi Prapya Nivartate.
Gail, would you like to read the English, please?
The mystic who passes away from this world during the smoke, the night, the fortnight of the waning moon, or the 6 months when the sun passes to the south, reaches the moon planet, but again comes back.
Oh.
Goes to the moon.
So yeah, this is not talking about ordinary kind of people. This is talking about yogis, mystics. Like the last line, it's mentioned yogi, which Prabhupada's translated in the verse as mystic. So there's no question that an ordinary materialistic person, which we would call them a karmi, you know, they're just engaged in fruitive activities, you know, satisfying the senses. There's no question that they're going to come back. But this is talking about someone that's trying to get liberated from the material world, trying to get free from the material world. This is a question for them, whether they're going to come back or they're not going to come back. So for the yogi that's trying to get out of the material world, if they leave their body at the inauspicious time, then they may end up coming back like that. They may end up coming back. So that's what this is talking about, this particular category of persons that are engaged in some spiritual practice. Other than
devotees are in that devotees are in that group?
Devotees are not in this category. So he's talking about, yeah, I mean, devotees are also a kind of mystic, you could say, but above these kind of yogis. So there's different levels of transcendentalists. So these are talking about a lower level of transcendentalists, where they would have some impersonal understanding. These are like impersonalists, these kind of yogis. Whereas the personalists or the bhakti yogis, then like I said, it doesn't matter for them what time they leave and all that kind of stuff. But for those that follow the jnana yoga system, like that, or the hatha yoga, stanga yoga system, then they have to, you know, work everything out perfectly. It has to go really perfectly well. Otherwise, they're not going to get the good result. Whereas for us, like I said, you know, we leave the result up to Krishna. And Krishna takes care, you know, whatever he arranges. And if Krishna does arrange that his devotee comes back, well, even the devotee will accept that. That's perfectly fine, you know, as long as I've got some service to do, even if I have to take birth again, as long as I have some service to do for Krishna and I'm able to be Krishna conscious. What really a devotee prays for before the devotee dies is, whatever happens to me, Krishna, I pray, please give me the association of devotees. Why is that so fundamentally important?
Then we can elevate the next level of the spiritual service.
Yeah. The devotees help us to come up to a higher level. Yeah. It's very hard to be Krishna conscious without any association with devotees. You know, everything goes easier with the devotees. You know, chanting goes easier. You know, talking about Krishna goes easier. Like now, we've got a little group here, you know, 4 of us. Then it's more enjoyable, isn't it, that we're talking about Krishna together? Whereas if it was just by ourselves, well, you got no one to talk to. You know, it's a bit dry. You know, I mean, you can read the book, which is very nice. And actually, actually the book is interesting, because you might think, oh, you're all by yourself reading the book and you don't have association. But yeah, if you read the book, you have the best association. Because like in this case, this book is spoken by God. So you're associating with Krishna when you read the Bhagavad Gita. And he's talking to who? A great devotee, you know, Arjuna, who's a pure devotee. So you actually by reading this book, you're associating with a great devotee, Arjuna, and with God himself, Krishna. And if you read the Bhagavatam, well, then you're associating with Lord Brahma, with Lord Shiva, Narada Muni, Dhruva Maharaj, Prahlad Maharaj, the gopis in the 10th canto. You know, you've got a fantastic association. So, yeah, so one way or another, association doesn't just mean a closeness of material bodies. You understand that? But some spiritual connection with another spiritual being. A connection with another spiritual being. So that can even be through these literatures. These literatures are non-different than the personalities that are in the literatures. Like Prabhupada said one time about his books, he said my books are better than me, talking about his physical association. He said, my books are better than me. And he said, my books are my emotional ecstasies. Try to digest that.
Wow.
My emotional ecstasies, which is called in Sanskrit bhava. So the ecstasy of the devotee, Prabhupada has put that into these writings, his ecstasies, his personal realizations and ecstasies. And why does he say that the book is better than him, the person? What's the advantage of the book that we can't necessarily get with the physical person?
It's always available.
It's always available. You can reach to the book on the shelf 24/7. Can you reach for the person 24/7? No, it's like now physically it's impossible with Prabhupada, but Prabhupada is still present 24/7, you know, in the book form. And now, but even when he was physically present up to 1977, you know, you could only be with him maybe a few minutes in the day while he's giving a class or on the morning walk. You could walk with him, or if you're his personal servant, you could get more time. But even then, he has to go to the toilet. You can't go with him. You know, he's sleeping, you're not with him, or whatever like that. You know, so it's limited, maybe a few hours every now and again, whatever. But with a book, it's whenever you want. If you're having a really hard time and your mind is driving you nuts, you can just open the book and get so much you know, spiritual connection, you know, and enlivenment from that, you know, anytime. So like I said, the books are better than me. So, but but what's very important, we need some kind of association, whether in the book form or the physical form. In the book form, that's called Vani. Vani means instructions, V-A-N-I, that means instructions. So we're getting, that's the benefit we're getting, is we're getting these spiritual instructions. And the physical association, that's called Vapu, V-A-P-U. But it's said that of the two, Vapu and Vani, Vani is more better. However, when the Vapu is present, when the physical devotee is present, you should associate with them. You should take advantage of that association. And then one day it won't be there. And then you have no choice. Then you cannot. But when it is there, you should take advantage of the physical association of an advanced devotee. You know, and that's greatly beneficial. You should not just say, oh, Prabhupada's just down the road, but no, I'm just going to sit and read his book. No. When he's there, then you try to be with him, and that will be very inspiring for you. And when he's no longer there, then or not available, then you read the book like that. Does that make sense? Anyone want to say anything about that? That's all good. Yeah, so that's what I was saying. So the devotee's not going to be worried about whether I go back to Godhead or whether I take another birth in the material world again. But what he will be worried about is, you know, will I have association with some devotees or the Lord like that? So he prays for that, you know, please give me that association like that with your devotees, with your loving devotees. Because the devotees, they have love for God. So naturally, if they love God, what will they be doing?
Serving God.
They'll always be serving God. They're always talking about God, singing about God, praying to God, offering their food to God. Their whole life is centered around God. So, and if you have their association, that will put God in your life, you know, automatically. So, yeah, association is very important. And that's called sadhu sangha. Sadhu sangha or sat sangha. Sangha means association, and sadhu means saintly person, or sat means eternal also, and that's what the devotees are interested. They're interested in the eternal life and everything that's eternal. Devotional service is eternal, the soul's eternal. So that's the sat sangha. And the opposite of that is the asat sangha. Asat means temporary. So those people that are they're interested only in temporary things, actually, what should we do with them? If we desire to have the satsanga, then what's that?
Leave them alone.
Yeah, let them do their thing, but we don't want to be too close with them. Don't want to be too close with them. Of course, we love everyone because everyone ultimately is a spirit soul. But if you're too close with them,
don't close to them.
Then they may project their Maya on you. Yeah, because they're in Maya. So, hey mate, I'm having a beer. Do you want to join me and have a beer with me? So they give lots of bad ideas, you know. And they're always talking about money. They're always talking about sex. You know, so they inject all their bad consciousness into you, talk about, you know, nonsense things and give you bad ideas or, you know, awaken, you know, bad memories in you from, because we probably used to do those things ourselves and we're trying to come out of that. But if you have that association again, that might put you back into your past habits, which is dangerous. So you have to be careful. However, what we can do, we don't want to take on their bad habits, but what could we do?
Bring them to the good habits.
Yeah, try to give them the good habits of Krishna consciousness. So, and if Prabhupada hadn't done that, we'd all be down the gurgler. We'd all be down the drain hole, you know. So he came to the West, to all of us with the bad habits, the Asat Sangha, but he gave us Krishna consciousness. Did he take on any of our bad habits?
But
No.
he was a true devotee. He was like, you know, he was like highly elevated position, and
Yeah.
no one reached to drag him down to the bad habit. For me,
Yeah,
yes,
but
if I
the
say
principle is relevant though, whether we're higher or lower. But like Gulshan is saying, you know, he's very high. So if we are more lower down, which is we definitely are, but we just have to be careful. We have to be careful that when we meet with non-devotees, not to get dragged down by them. And even though you might think that, well, Prabhupada has no risk of being dragged down, but he didn't think that. See, a pure devotee is very humble.
why he probably people more maybe try to drag him down, but he they doesn't let him. You know why?
Why?
Because he has a chain of 32 gurus power. The chain of 32, that parampara, they were very strong. No one can drag him down because he's connected with the Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur all the way to Krishna, the chain.
Yeah, but we have a chain of 34, which is even more. We've got a chain of 34, which is even more.
Yeah, that's right. So nobody can drag you down, guaranteed.
So
they
I wouldn't say that
down.
just because, I wouldn't just say that. But one time Prabhupada said in a class that the difference between me and all of you, means the devotees in the audience, is that I can never fall down and that you can fall down. And after the class, Prabhupada was praying to the deities, and a disciple thought, it would be very interesting to find out what he's praying. What is the guru praying? So he asked Prabhupada after that, I'm just curious, what were you praying? Can you let me know? And Prabhupada told him, I was praying to Krishna to please protect me from falling down. At this point, the devotee was in complete confusion because he said, Prabhupada, you just told us before that in the class that the difference between you and us is that you can't fall down and we can. And now you're saying you're praying to Krishna to protect you from falling down. So that doesn't make sense. And Prabhupada said, the reason why I can't fall down is because I'm always praying to Krishna to protect me from falling down. And one time he said actually that one criticism I have of my Western disciples is that they're not afraid of Maya enough. That was a criticism he had. In India, people have more of an understanding about Maya and they might be afraid of Maya, not to mess with Maya. But in the West, we tend to, be a bit arrogant, a bit proud, and not be maybe so afraid of Maya, which actually is healthy to have some fear of falling back into illusion like that. So these are just different factors there. But yeah, association with devotees is highly recommended. And then just to watch out for bad association, not to get dragged down by bad association. But ultimately, we know no one is bad, that ultimately everyone's a pure spirit soul. Ultimately, everyone has a loving relationship with God. Just we've forgotten that due to Maya. Once again, we've been covered by Maya. So interestingly, Jesus apparently said one time, one should hate the sin and not the sinner. Hate the sin, but not the sinner. Because ultimately the sinner, no one's ultimately a sinner. Ultimately, everyone's a pure soul. But temporarily, we've been covered by some sinful, habits like that. So these sinful habits are very bad, but the soul within is pure. So that can be recovered from those bad habits. It's like ourselves.
So we can't hate Hitler, but we hate what he did. Is it?
Correct. Yeah, correct. Yeah. These, the person that's dishing out our some suffering or whatever, they're just instruments, actually. Instruments for our own bad karma. They're instruments for our bad karma also. So that's another angle to look at it from. Does that make sense? Do you understand what I'm saying? Means due to our bad karma, we're destined to go through some suffering. So someone or something has got to be the instrument for giving us that, whether it's in the form of Hitler or whatever, giving us our, like now we've got so many bad governments all over the world, but we could just blame the bad governments, but we're also partly to blame. Why we're here in this world at this time of bad governments is because of our own bad karma.
Because
I'm just going to turn the light on.
That happen like that. If Krishna says Kali Yuga will be happen like that. If doesn't, Kali Yuga is very good, then Krishna's statement will be false. It can't be possible.
However, this is a beautiful time to be present for Krishna consciousness, because the process has been made so simple.
And the planet Earth is the best planet to elevate straight to the Bhagavad Dham. You can't go from the heaven to the Bhagavad Dham. You have to come back to here. Is that correct?
It's much more difficult there.
We're on the right spot, Deepa. Just hop on. We're going to go.
Too much enjoyment, like in heaven, too much sense gratification makes it hard to focus on Krishna consciousness. And in a hellish situation in the lower planets, more suffering also makes it very difficult to practice Krishna consciousness. So this is perfect. A little bit of both, a bit of a mixed bag. Okay, so this is talking about a transcendentalist, but not a devotee yet, who's passing away at these times. He may have to come back again. So what does this mean? Passing away from the world during the smoke. So remember the last verse talked about fire. If you have fire when you die around you, that's a good thing. But if it's just smoke, smoke is not so good. If there's just smoke, but when you die, that's not a good sign. That's not a good sign, but fire is a good sign. And the night. So if you die, like I said, in the night time, that's not very good generally. Fortnight of the waning moon. So the moon is reducing towards the new moon. That's not a good time to go. Or 6 months when the sun passes to the south. Yeah, so that's saying that, so they come back, but where they come back to is interesting. It's saying they reach the moon planet. They reach the moon. So they don't, if their goal was to get liberated and merge into the Brahman, because most of these mystics, that would be their goal. Their goal wouldn't be to go to Krishna's planet in Vaikuntha. Their goal would be to merge into the spiritual light, which is called the Brahma Jyoti. So that would have been their goal, to merge into the spiritual light. But because they left at the wrong time, an auspicious time, instead of reaching that goal of merging into the Brahman, then they ended up just going to a better planet in the material world, which is the moon. The moon is a heavenly planet. According to the Western science, it's just a lump of rocks and sand, but that's a load of rubbish according to the Vedas. And Prabhupada was the first one to said that the Americans didn't go to the moon and their whole idea of the moon was all wrong. He said it's a heavenly planet. It's very beautiful. It's very beautiful. And even a gardener knows, any decent gardener knows that the moonlight makes vegetables grow on earth and makes the fruits very tasty. I always try to pick fruits during the full moon time because it makes the fruits more juicy, more tasty. So even a stupid gardener knows that. So how is it that the moon itself, which makes things grow here so far away, but on the moon itself, there's nothing grows? It just doesn't make any sense, even if you look at it from a logical point of view like that. It's completely crazy. But from the Vedas, we know that it's occupied by many heavenly beings, demigods called devas, and the topmost deva there is Chandradev. He's the moon god. And they're very intelligent, pious beings. They're very pious beings. And if you're very pious on earth, you may get the good opportunity to go there. You know, that many people, many pious spiritualists on earth, they're performing great sacrifices to get the opportunity to take their birth on the moon or to take their birth on the sun. The sun is another heavenly planet, and there's different heavenly planets. And people perform sacrifices to go there. So it's not just some lumps of rocks and sand and stuff like that. So, yeah, I don't know where they went, but it doesn't sound like the moon. Actually, there's a forbidden place that no one's allowed to go in Arizona desert. And there's been books and books written about this bogus moon landing. And many of these books say that actually it was just some lumps of rocks and sand from the Arizona desert, you know. But anyway, it doesn't really matter where they went. But yeah, the moon is a heavenly planet. You know, it's a heavenly planet. Another thing that's very interesting, in the Western science, it's understood that the moon is closer to the earth than the sun. But according to the Vedas, the moon is further away from the earth than the sun. So that's something quite different way of understanding also. And that's another reason why Prabhupada said they didn't go to the moon, because he knows the real distance, and the distance is mentioned in the Bhagavad.
Or is there more than one?
There's only one.
You sure?
One. Yep. So, yeah, absolutely sure. So those other stars we see, in the West, they say those are also moons, but the Vedas doesn't agree with that. Their stars are different than the moon. The moon is unique. There's only one moon in each universe. There's many universes, of course. Each universe has one sun, one moon, and many planets, which we call stars, like that. But the moon is unique in how it reflects so much light when there's no sunlight. It reflects so much light, and yeah, it's like self-illuminating. There's yeah, different things said about that. Prabhupada said one time there's this moon is radiating fire, hard to imagine, radiating fire, but through a very cold atmosphere. So that's why the light becomes cooling. Because like this, the sun is radiating light, but it's heating, right? So how is it the moon is radiating light, but it's cooling? It's because it's that fire is coming through a cold atmosphere. So it's a bit hard to understand because we've never experienced that before, how you can have a cool fire. But that's one statement that Prabhupada made once. But yeah, the only two planets that are self-illuminating like that is the sun and the moon. One is giving out a hot light and the other is giving out a cool light like that. And so even though these mystics failed to get liberated from the material world, but still it's not bad, you know. So that's the thing. If you're making some kind of spiritual endeavor, you're never going to lose. That's a good point to understand from this. Even if you don't reach 100% success in your effort to progress spiritually, you're still going to be better off. So like that, in one sense, you know, they failed to get where they wanted to go, but still it's better, you know, to take birth on the moon is a lot better than here in terms of being happy and a long life. I mean, they live on the moon, they live there, the soul lives there for 10,000 years of the demigods. And one day there is equal to our 6 months on earth. So that's 10,000 years multiplied by 180, because 6 months has got 180 days. So that's a long time they can enjoy there. And yeah, they have a lot of sense gratification there. Anyway, Gulshan, don't get too excited about going to the moon.
I think it's very boring.
Very boring compared to Krishna Loka. Krishna's planet is so much better. And that's eternally.
The moon doesn't reflect its own light. It's reflecting the light of the sun. Isn't that so? And that's what we learned. Don't know. Yeah.
Well, according to what I've heard Prabhupada say, it's also radiating out its own as well. So I don't fully comprehend it. I
haven't been to moon, so I can't tell.
Good.
Well, there is a Elon Musk taking the flight to the moon, $200,000 ticket. If you want to hop on,
No thanks.
Get there and come back. Yeah, it's true. Deepa, your house is worth $1 million, $200,000 five ticket.
Millions.
Lifetime experience. That's a lifetime experience.
No thanks.
Final answer.
Okay. Well, anyway, let's read the purport deeper.
In the third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, Kapila Muni mentions that those who are expert in the fruitive activities and sacrificial methods on earth attain to the moon at death. These elevated souls are on the moon for about 10,000 years by demigod calculations and enjoy life by drinking somarasa. They eventually return to earth. This means that on the moon there are higher classes of living beings, though they may not be perceived by the gross senses.
So yeah, Prabhupada's telling us this last sentence because he knows that's what we're thinking. We're thinking there's no life on the moon. So he's pointing out there is very high level life on the moon. Very higher classes of living beings, though they may not be perceived by the gross senses. So even if you look at the moon with your telescope, you can't see anyone there. So yeah, you can't perceive it with your gross senses. And what do we know from the Vedas is that every conditioned soul has 4 defects. Do you know what the 4 defects are?
Oh, we got no perfect eyes.
Yeah, that's one of the senses, but basically imperfect senses. So including our eyes. So don't expect that you're going to see everything with your eyes in reality. And you might say, well, my eyes aren't very good, but I got a really good telescope. But you got to look through that telescope with your imperfect eyes, so it's still imperfect. And the person that made the telescope is imperfect. So the person that made it is imperfect, and the eyes that you're looking through it with are imperfect. So that's one of the 4 defects, is we have imperfect senses. What are the other 3?
Propensity to cheat.
Yes, we have a propensity to cheat and say that we went to the moon. It didn't even go.
Yeah, I told you the last time, when I steal that flower from the Gale's garden, the stealing habit there. So that's propensity. I'm not perfect because I steal the guavas and mangoes from the other trees in the backyard of people. I love it. Especially when they chase it. Go away.
Cheating is really that you're talking like you know something, but actually you don't know. You know, like they teach us at school, right? The teacher is standing up there in front of the class and saying that, everything started from a big bang, and then we evolved from monkeys and all that kind of stuff. So that's cheating. They don't know, but they're talking like they know. They're talking like they know, but actually they don't know. So they're just saying and Prabhupada criticized anyone that made a statement, I think, started off a statement by, I think, maybe, maybe, could be, in my opinion.
I
In my
heard
opinion, it could be. So this is cheating. We're talking like we know what we're talking about, but actually we don't know what we're talking about. So that's very misleading. Very misleading.
Another one
So
is suffering from illusion.
yeah, we're subject to illusion. Yeah, we're subject to illusion or under illusion. And Prabhupada gave the example for this. The biggest illusion we're under is that everyone thinks they're the body. So that's illusion. Now, I'm a man, I'm a woman, I'm a Kiwi, I'm an Aussie, I'm a Christian, I'm a Hindu, I'm a Muslim. You know, this is my house, my car, my family, everything. So everything's centered around we're thinking we're the body, but we're not the body. This is just like the Vedas says it's a yantra. Yantra means a machine. So this is our car, and we're the driver. So if the driver thinks they're the car, what would we say about that? The person's a bit of a loony. He's a bit cuckoo. He thinks he's his car, so that's an illusion, And in the second chapter, Krishna gives the example, the body's like a kind of dress. So these are two different examples. The body's like a machine or it's like a dress. But we're the person that's wearing the dress. We're not the dress. There's a play that used to be done a lot in the early days of the Hare Krishna movement, which is the Drowning Man play. The Drowning Man play, and where there's a person drowning, and there's another guy. He comes to the drowning person, and he pulls off his shirt. He grabs his shirt, and he says, "I saved him. Here he is. I've saved him. I saved him. I pulled him out of the water." And the guy's still in the water. "I'm still drowning. Save me." "No, but I've got him. No, it's like you just got his dress, So it's like that, So there's a difference between the body and the soul, but that's what people don't understand. And that's what Prabhupada criticized, material welfare work, because it's just for the dress. Just for the dress. I mean, the hungry person, and you feed him, but he's going to be hungry again tomorrow. So it's just temporarily giving him some benefit, but not permanent benefit. Or, some hospital and you cure his cancer, but he's going to get some other disease, next year or something like that.
You can feel the aftermath of the chemo now. It's like I've got one side getting numb, and then when I turn over this side getting numb. So 5 to 6 times every night I wake up. When the doctor, he said there's the aftermath of the chemo.
Wow.
You got.
You need
So when did?
I've got mega magnesium. And like I said, it's been 7 years. He said, well, on that time he was quite young. He didn't know that. Now you can feel it as you're getting older. And I said, shut up. I don't like you. I just come back.
Make sure, Gulshan, you do self-massage every day. Do self-massage, good massage with some oil every day. That will help.
Yeah, I tried it there, but the thing is, I'm taking the homeopathic medicine now from India.
Yeah.
I can show you that because there's a 4 medicine. He told me that, and I've seen that's a homeopathic. It takes a slow reaction, but I'm taking like 4 drops in the teaspoon of water.
Yeah.
And hopefully, I started last week, but he said it takes a few months, and then you're gonna get better. That's okay. I'm taking that as well. And iron tablet I'm taking because a lot of vegetarian has a deficiency of iron.
Okay.
So B12 I'm taking that as well, mega magnesium. But but it's like only the night time, 6, 7, 8 times. Last night I wake up 9 times. But during the day I've got a full strength. I'm not feeling weak. I don't feel sleepy. Nothing.
Krishna carries what you lack.
Yeah, look, listen to him, listen to her. What? She's very, very good topic. Please say again.
What she said?
Say again.
I said I have a very good massage woman.
Yeah.
In Mayfield.
That's what I want. Yay. Okay, we're going. Tara, let's go.
I said, Gulshan, you didn't hear what I said properly. I said self-massage. I said you need to
She's
self-massage.
a lady in the Mayfield. She's a lady in the Mayfield.
Yeah, but we already, you didn't, Gulshan,
Oh,
you didn't
okay.
hear anything I said, Gulshan. What did I say? Bad association. You got to avoid bad association.
She's not a bad, she's a devotee. She's not a bad association.
No, I thought Gail's talking about some other girl that does
Yeah,
massage.
she's also devotee.
Yes, I'm talking about some other woman.
But
Yeah.
but is she helping devotee? I'm gonna bring her to Krishna consciousness.
She might be a devotee, but when she's massaging you, is that what you're thinking? Or you're thinking about her as just a good-looking woman?
No,
That's
I'm thinking of bringing her to Krishna consciousness.
No. Oh, God.
She's not good looking.
I don't like it then. That's it.
See, look how much under illusion you are, Gulshan. Oh, we didn't finish the other defects. The other defect is that we make mistakes. We make mistakes.
Mistake, yes.
And the example Prabhupada gives of making mistakes is Gandhi, interestingly, that he was advised by one of his confidential advisors, I heard something bad might happen today at the meeting. Don't go to the meeting. But he ignored that good advice. So that mistake cost him his life. He was shot that day when he went to the meeting. But he was already advised, don't go, but he went against that and he went. So that was a mistake.
I mean, you can say it's a mistake, but there was his time. Krishna said that's the time is up, is up.
Sure, sure,
Once you are on the bed there, so it says first thing first that your brain doesn't work. If you're in the things like a situation, the Krishna will switch off your brain and you do that things there. Duryodhana, he did that. Krishna switched his brain off. And
but if you're looking for a good-looking massage girl, then you're making a big mistake, Gulshan.
I'm joking, Prabhuji. I'm not a good girl.
I know. I'm just cheating you, don't worry.
No, I cannot that force feel that a Prabhupada. This gentleman, I cannot betray him no matter what.
Very nice, very nice. But pray to Krishna, pray to Prabhupada to protect
Jagannath,
you.
I said to Jagannath, please leave me out of the woman. Every day I pray to Jagannath. Yeah. Please.
Yeah. So only one thing we haven't covered is somaras. So what's that about? So that's
John Walker, Black Label, somaras.
It's made from some herb. It's made from a herb, a plant. It's coming from a plant.
That's what my father used to say when he had his whiskey shot. He would say it's vegetarian.
Yeah, it's made from a plant. It makes the person feel like almost invincible, and like then nothing can hurt them, and it makes them feel very warm also, because like it's very cold on the moon. So when they drink somaras, it makes them feel very warm. And it has really miraculous benefits for the health and making you feel really good, and helps with the long lifespan and everything like that. And even if they get hurt in a battle with the demons, when they drink that, it can repair the damage. So yeah, it's very potent. It's sometimes mentioned as a kind of intoxicant, but it's not like the kind of intoxicant on earth, which makes the person more ignorant. So it doesn't have that intoxicating effect that you drink somaras and you become more ignorant. Whereas normal intoxicants, that's why we don't take intoxicants, because they make us more ignorant, more forgetful of ourselves and God and everything like that, and gives us a false sense of happiness. I mean, that's probably the reason why somaras is called an intoxication, is because it does give a sense of happiness, which is part of the illusion, right? So in that sense, it's not good to just be drinking somaras, because you'll think, oh, I'm quite happy living here on the moon like that. So that's like I said, the danger in the heavenly planets is that there's so much sense gratification that it's hard to practice your Krishna consciousness. So that's a little bit about that. Okay, we got more time. Let's read the next verse. 26. Shukla Krishna Gati Hete
Shukla Krishna Gati Hate
Jagata Shashvate Mate
Jagata Shashvati Mati
Ekayatyanavritim
Ekayatyanavritram
Anyayavatate Puna
Anyayavatati Puna.
Roshan.
According to the Vedic opinion, there are two ways of passing from this world, one in the light and one in darkness. When one passes in light, he does not come back, but when one passes in the darkness, he returns. But that's not in our hand. And Krishna decide light or dark. We are not decider.
So, of course, that's one of the main. This is the main duality of the material world, right? One of the main dualities is light and darkness. Light and darkness. Actually, Krishna consciousness is compared to light, and Maya is compared to darkness in some of the verses, like in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. There's one verse says that Krishna Surya Sama Maya Haya Andakar Yahan Krishna Tahan Nahi Maya Adhikar. So that's Bengali. What that means is Krishna Surya Sama. That Krishna is compared to the sun, Surya. Surya means the sun. Sama means equal. So they're compared. Krishna is compared to the sun. Maya Haya Andakar. And Maya, illusion, is compared to Andakar. Anda means darkness. So Maya is compared to the darkness, and Krishna is compared to the sun, the light. Yahan Krishna Tahan Nahi Maya Adhikar. And wherever there is Krishna, there cannot be any Maya. Isn't it? Just like wherever there is sunlight, there can't be any darkness, isn't it? It's impossible. You can't have sun and, you can't have light and dark at the same time. It's either it's light or it's dark, but you can't have both. So that
Or
verse
it's
is saying
overcast. Or it's overcast.
overcast, yeah. But so yeah, wherever there is Krishna consciousness, then there can't be any darkness of Maya, of illusion. So, and actually, if you look at a Back to Godhead magazine, at the very top of the cover, of every cover, the very top, it's got a picture of Lord Chaitanya with his hands up in the air, and this light, like sun behind him, like radiating out light. And the other end of the other side of the page is it's very dark, and you see all these tiny little people of Kali Yuga, but he's projecting the light, which is pushing away the darkness of Kali Yuga, because the nature of Kali Yuga is very ignorant, very dark, like that. People in ignorance and forgetfulness of who they are and their purpose of life and everything like that, and why they're suffering and everything. And so Lord Chaitanya has come to project the light of Krishna consciousness, and especially in the form of Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. He's come to propagate this Maha Mantra, Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, which will push back the darkness of Kali Yuga, the ignorance of Kali Yuga. So yeah, light is very auspicious. So yeah, that's a good time to pass away, is during the light also. Actually, when you think about it, the sun is so important in our lives, isn't it? That's the source of all energy of the universe. Like I said with the plants also, without the sunlight, the plants couldn't grow like that. The moonlight, the plants couldn't grow, and then we wouldn't have any food to eat. We'd be all frozen like an ice block if it wasn't for the sun. We'd be a frozen ice block. And actually, the Gayatri mantra. I don't know how much you know about the Gayatri mantra, but
Om Bhurbhuvah Svah Tat Saviturvarinyam.
Bhagavad Dhimahi Dhiyo Yo Na Prachodayat. So that's a prayer recited 3 times a day by the Brahmanas, by those in the mode of goodness, the Brahmanas. It's a prayer to the sun, to the sun god, because it's so fundamentally important in our life and gives us so much inspiration. So much inspiration in our life. I mean, let's face it, if it wasn't for the sun rising up in the morning, we'd all be fully depressed and taking Prozac. We'd all be so depressed.
I would go to work.
We wouldn't go to work. It'd just be so much. There's been scientific research that countries that don't get much sunshine hours, that people suffer more from depression and mental problems and stuff. And countries that get more sunlight, they tend to be happier and more jolly. And I mean, like, look at India, gets so much sun and people wear all bright clothes and they're so happy, even though they only live in a shack and they don't have any money, but they're happy. You know, they're like nice sunshine, nice warm environment, and it makes you feel really good. You know, and one time Prabhupada was in London, in Britain, and one reporter asked him, what is hell? And Prabhupada said, hell is Britain. hell is Britain, is England. Because he says you never see the sun here. That's the reason why he said it's hell. Because you never see the sun. It's always like cloudy
but
and
there's
dark.
more sun there than in Helsinki.
There was a one time, like, one press reporter asked that one time there was a half of the world that ruled by Britain. And they were saying the Britain's sun never set because it's in India and South Africa and all the Trinidad. And he said, oh, but it's never set, British sun. He said, oh, they'll never rise in London.
Yeah. So, yeah, one time Prabhupada said that India is the best place for spiritual life. And that's not so, interesting. But the reason why he said is I found very interesting. I was expecting it to be some esoteric reason why it's the best place, because Krishna appeared there and Krishna performed many pastimes there and all the devotees of Krishna are there and all these holy places are there. But that's not what he said. He said Krishna's the best place, India's the best place for spiritual life because the climate is nice and warm. He said because the climate is nice and warm. The idea of why does that make it the best place for spiritual life? If the climate is nice and warm, then you can live more simply. And what is that good for spiritual life? Because if you live more simply, you've got more time for Krishna consciousness, for your spiritual practice. If you're living in a cold place, you have to work harder. Because you've got to get a bigger house with more insulation. You need more heating, more electricity, more firewood. You need more clothing, more food to keep you warm. Everything's more in a colder place. It's harder. You have to work more. And that means
there's also more wastage. There's also more wastage in the West.
In Bengal, just one dhoti, you can live in one dhoti in Bengal.
Yeah. Well, I've seen it. I've seen it personally. That the poor person. I mean, materially poor. I mean, spiritually they're rich, but this poor person goes to the water, and they take off their dhoti, they're like trousers, you could say, and they just have their underwear on, and they wash their dhoti. And then hang it in a tree or lie it out flat on the bank. And then within 10 minutes, it's dry. And then they put it back on and walk off again. It's just so simple.
Yeah, it's true, actually. Toshan, when he was traveling to India, he's got only one set of clothes and one dhoti. Night time, he's got like a kurta and pajama. He washed it and hang it there and sleep in dhoti. Next morning, he put that on and take the dhoti and goes there. Next place, wear the dhoti, put the nighttime kurta pajama, put it up on the hang, next morning dry. So one set of clothes, he was traveling. Only one set of clothes.
That's very good.
So yeah, the sun is giving us so many benefits and even helping us with our spiritual practice potentially like that. So we offer respect, and also we know that the sun god is actually an incarnation of God himself, Narayan. That's why one of his other names is Surya Narayan. Surya Narayan. So that's the sun god. So it's actually God himself has incarnated as the sun god to, you know, help us to live here in this world. We couldn't live here without the sun, without the water, without the air, with all these things, food. And who is providing that? God is providing everything that we need. So, and that's Krishna consciousness, understanding these fundamental points that God is maintaining me. He's giving me everything. Now, what am I doing for him? He's doing everything for me, giving me the sun, the water, the air, the food. He's giving me a wife, giving me kids, giving me a house, giving me clothes, giving me food, everything. Now, what am I doing? The question is not what God is doing. There's no question. He's doing everything. The question is, what are we going to do? Are you going to be ungrateful and not do anything back? Or this is where bhakti comes in, that realizing how much God is doing for me. And then I think, well, now I want to do something for him. What can I do for him? Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Which Prabhupada said is a prayer that, oh Hare, energy of the Lord, oh Krishna, you know, how can I serve you? Please engage me in your service. You know, once we realize he's giving us sunlight and everything, you know, what can I do for God? Isn't it natural, you know, if someone serves you, what feeling should come in your heart? If someone does some service for you.
Do the service back to him.
Yeah, I want to do some service back to him or her. So, and that's bhakti, when that feeling comes that I should do something back.
It's called a prema.
It's very natural.
Prema bhakti.
Yes, so bhakti is not unnatural. Bhakti is very natural. Actually, what's unnatural is if we don't do bhakti. That's unnatural because it means you're like a spoiled brat. That you're taking so much service and you don't want to do anything back. And how many people like spoiled brats? You know, we don't like spoiled brats.
Brat's not spoiled. Brat's their manager.
Not brat. Actually, he does so much service, and that's why I made him the manager. That's why I made him the manager, because he did so much service, you know.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
We're going to see Taushan on Monday. He's sick, actually.
Oh.
He's got a cancer here. So the cancer went to the bone.
Oh, yeah.
So they took the bone out of the leg and put it up here. So he's can't walk or can't hear.
Where is he at? Which hospital is he at?
In Gosford. He lives in Gosford and Parabai. So we're going to see on Monday, me, Brett, and Mahabhadra. So to see if he need any help or anything. Because he live alone. He doesn't have a wife. So, well, that's a life. I'm alone too. Deep I found the struggle.
And talking about service, and we might think, well, okay, God's doing so much for me. I want to do something for God. What can I do for God? And then, but God already has everything. So what can I really give him that he doesn't already have?
Awa.
Actually, what's the best, one of the easiest and best effective ways to serve God? Do you know?
Chant.
Remember him.
Remember him? Okay.
And to chant.
Yeah. But does he need us to remember him? Does he need us to chant? Does he lose anything by us not chanting and remembering him?
No. What about loving him?
But if you're even talking about, you know, because when you serve someone, you want to give them something they need. You don't want to give them something they don't need. So I'm not discounting what you've said, but if you it's God doesn't need anything from us. We need him. However,
to know him.
a devotee of Krishna who's surrendered his life to Krishna and trying to please Krishna, they become very dear to Krishna. Krishna loves them very much, especially. And the devotee needs a lot. God doesn't need, but the devotees need a lot. Like, as a devotee, we need food, we need shelter, we need clothing, we need health care, medical care, so many things. Some affection, some love, some affection, someone that, you know, takes an interest in our welfare, you know, and talks with us, you know, very friendly way, lovingly, whatever. We need so many things. So that is something very easy we can do, which pleases Krishna so much. It's said actually better, more effective than serving Krishna is to serve Krishna's devotees. And that will be recognized very much by Krishna. And then, like in Vrindavan, right? Krishna's place, Vrindavan. Who do they mainly worship in Vrindavan?
Radha.
Yeah, not Krishna. They don't worship Krishna. They worship Radha because Krishna's devotee. And once again, very easy to please the devotee. Very difficult to please Krishna.
And Radha is very dear to Krishna.
Yeah, and because she's a female, she's energy, she's very soft-hearted, as women are generally very soft-hearted. So you got to be nice to Gail Gulshan. She's very soft-hearted.
Well, Deepa also soft-hearted. Deepa, you're Radha too.
Because actually the nature of the soul, is Prakriti.
You want a message?
That by nature.
I can't do that.
Hey, if you don't watch it, I'm going to come there, Gulshan, and beat you up if you don't watch it. You annoy Gail too much.
Bad by devotee. That'll be great. If you bash me, I'll go straight to Krishna Loka. You say help devotee, I'm helping her.
But actually, whether we have a man's body or woman's body, the nature of the soul is we're Prakriti, which means we're all female by nature.
Yes.
We're meant
My soul is helping her soul.
But that's why that they recognize it's more effective way to progress by serving Radharani, like that, by serving the devotee. So yeah, that's a wonderful service to try to help Gulshan whatever way you can. At least just spend some time with him, make him feel better, and show some love for him.
One day to crack some jokes and things, and make him happy to say, "Hey, mate, it's okay. Look at the cancer survivor. Don't worry about it. It's okay."
Yes.
We'll take some food as well, some paneer and some vegetables and some rotis and some juice, and then we go and see him and spend some time having lunch with him together. That's
nice, very nice.
Gulshan, I'll talk to you later about if I might be able to join you guys to visit him, if that's okay.
You have to check. You have to check the bread. He's the one when going in. If he okay with that, you're more than welcome. But Monday we're planning. So I'm gonna go to work now, but Brett won't see me. I'll see Brett tomorrow evening. But if you can, you got Brett's number. Yeah, you can hop in if you like to. More than welcome.
If I can, we'll see.
Yeah, sure. Anyone, man. It's more people and be more happy, more cheerful. And I'll take some prasadam from Bhakti Tree. Then we'll eat over there.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great service we can do. Look after each other. It's so important. We should always
Nobody look after me. I live alone, struggling. Guy doesn't come and ask me, how you doing, Gulshan? Do you need a water or anything? Any cup of tea? When I say that, Gail, you don't come and ask me. She's a piss off. That's what she says. Can you believe that? What do you mean? I'm not a devotee? I'm trying to be devotee. I'm not devotee. I'm not initiated, but I'm trying.
You're a flower thief.
I'm a flower thief.
Gail's only reflecting you, Gulshan. If she came and asked you, probably tell her to. Yeah.
No. She's a very good friend and a great devotee.
Well, thank you.
Because, if I'm in trouble, if the relatives come later, neighbors come quicker. If I call my daughter, it'll take 3 hours from Sydney to come, but neighbor, the guy will come quicker.
Hey, do you know what is a symptom that you can tell that Krishna is pleased with you? How do you know
Yeah.
if Krishna's pleased with you?
Yeah, it's many ways. It'll be happen that sometimes, like, you all of a sudden when you're doing a service and there you start crying, and then things like it's happening in your life. You can see, yes, Krishna is pleased. That's why
Yeah.
Prabhupada crying that,
Yeah,
it's
definitely.
tears
Yeah,
coming
that's
out of
one
his
way.
eyes.
Yeah, yeah.
That's the Krishna's mercy. It shows
That is definitely.
Yeah.
But that's maybe a bit hard to achieve that level, but it can be achieved. But one way that's is very perceivable by everyone is if you have the association of other devotees, that means Krishna must be pleased, because Krishna wouldn't give you the association of devotees if he wasn't happy with you. If he's not happy with you, he might boot you far, far away, and you never see a devotee ever again. Then that's a bad sign. But if you have the association.
But if you surrender
Oh,
to Krishna,
Jayanti's saying, does that mean that we've been booted away? It means me and her have been booted away because we seem to be very far away. But also but devotees also take up that hardship, that's austerity, to go to remote places to spread Krishna consciousness where there isn't any Krishna consciousness. And like Prabhupada, for example, he said, Brahmananda, you go to Africa. It was just him. And he gave him one helper. He was a sannyasi. And Prabhupada made him a sannyasi, sent him all alone with one other devotee to the whole of Africa. And another devotee sent, Tamal Krishna, you go to China. So you might think, is that like punishment, or Krishna's not happy? No.
No, but
Prabhupada
Guru did the same thing. But this is not Satsari Thakur. Prabhupada, go to West.
Go to the West. Yeah, go to the West. Prabhupada went by himself. But yeah, and then you have to generate association yourself. You have to make more, other people Krishna conscious, and then you can enjoy their association. But the point is, a devotee can't live without association. I mean, that's why I personally get out a lot out of these talks with you, because it gives me association, so we need that.
So you're saying that I should have to go more often to the Gail's place to have a cup of tea? Association?
Yeah. You take the tea.
No, I had a tea every day. No, you remember in the backyard? Yeah.
As long as you behave yourself and be a good person.
Yeah, he just makes me laugh.
Okay, that's good.
Well, if devotee is happy, Krishna is happy. If I make her laugh, it means devotee is happy. Devotee is happy, Krishna is happy. Simple.
Hello, Hare Krishna, everybody.
Hey, Hare Krishna.
Hey,
How are you all?
good. We miss you both.
Yeah, likewise.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, we miss you guys too.
It's like a two body and one soul, or there's two souls?
Radha and Krishna.
Radha and Krishna.
That's
when we're cooperating, it's one. When we're fighting, it's two.
Yeah.
Mataji, you coming to Melbourne? I heard about next month. This month?
Yeah, almost next week.
Are you going to be in Melbourne? I'm going to be in Melbourne last week of August. I don't know.
No, I'm going for my guru's Vyasa Puja.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's happening on the 17th. So
obviously gonna come to us as well.
No, I'm just going for 5 days.
That's not good enough, that's
But we will come. Both of us will come another time to Newcastle.
Actually, before that, you guys come. You last 4 years, you're promising you'll come. Where I haven't seen you coming this way. Why you can't come here?
She talking to you, Gail. She talking to you.
Well, I've already spoken with both Deepa and Gail. You also have spoken many times. Why are you hiding?
You know what? We are planning to come. Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay. That's just.
Yeah.
We will go. We will come when it's warmer.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yes. in December, January.
Because
and then we'll have so many fruits in the garden. It'll be a real food.
Yeah.
We live in Siberia at the moment.
Yeah.
Very cold here. Especially when got no meat on the bone. Look at it. No meat on the bone. Of course I feel cold.
Yeah.
And I turned the heater on and she said, turn it off. I'm hot enough. Turn it off.
No, I said I'm fat. I don't need the heater.
See, but she don't need the heater. Doesn't mean I can get the heat from her. I need a heater. I'm